Good morning, students. Welcome to SST So Simple tutorial. In the previous class, we read what is federalism and tried to understand the difference between the federal government and the unitary government. Today, we will look at the key features of federalism. So, all of you open page number 15 of your textbook and come to first column. We will discuss all these points given here. First point. Let us first repeat the definition of federalism that we read. It is a system of government in which power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units. It implies that there has to be at least two levels, otherwise how will you divide? You may have more levels, but there has to be minimum two levels of government. Hence, the first feature is there are two or more levels or tiers of government. Let us discuss the second point. Different tiers of government govern the same citizen, but each tier has its own jurisdiction in specific matters of legislation, taxation, and administration. So, what is the meaning of jurisdiction here? Look down in the glossary. The area over which someone has legal authority. The area may be defined in terms of geographical boundaries or in terms of certain kinds of subjects. To understand this, suppose you go to a police station to report an incident that took place somewhere. The police station guides you to go to some other police station, stating that the area where the incident took place does not fall in their jurisdiction. I hope you understood in terms of geographical boundaries. Take some other example. If a teacher in your school wants to go on leave, then he or she will not go to the vice principal, as granting of leave to a teacher is a subject which lies in the jurisdiction of principal only. I hope you understood in terms of certain kinds of subjects. So jurisdiction is clear to you? Now let us come back to our topic. Different tiers of government govern the same citizen. Let us focus here. We or you living in any part of the country are governed not only by our state governments but also by the central governments. How? Suppose I buy a plot of land in Ranchi, then the process of buying the land will be governed by the state laws of Jharkhand. Why? Because land is a state subject in India. Suppose I have to go to the United States now, then I will need a passport. Then in that case, I will be governed by the central laws. Why? Because foreign affairs is a subject of central government in India. I hope you have understood what I have explained. Let us proceed further. But each tier has its own jurisdiction in subject matters of legislation. I stop here. Legislation. Legislation means in the matter of making laws. In the matters of making laws. So the Constitution provides separate list of subjects on which the two levels of government can make laws. There is a list of subjects where central government will make law. There is another list where state government will make laws like this. Okay. You all must remember the examples that I quote from our Indian context. In the previous video, I had discussed with you who decided to buy the Rafale aircraft. It was the central government. Why? Because defense is a subject looked after by the central government on India. I talked about getting passport just now. Who will provide us with the passport? The central government. Why? Because foreign affairs is a subject to be looked after by the central government in India. Let us proceed further. But each tier has its own jurisdiction in specific matters of legislation, taxation, and administration. we will discuss taxation in 6 points separately. Let us discuss administration. By administration, it basically means the administrative relationships between the state and the union. That means the executive powers of the states and the executive powers of the center. So students, the executive powers of the two levels are also divided on the lines of the legislative powers. This means that the executive powers of the center extends to all matters on which the central government has the power to make laws. Similarly, the executive power of the state extends to all matters on which the state legislatures or the state government has the exclusive powers of legislation. That means that if defense related laws are made by the parliament, then defense related executive decisions will also be taken by the center. It is common in federal systems that the administrative relations between the center and the states are full of difficulties. Therefore, the Constitution seeks to achieve smooth working relationships between these two levels. It therefore provides that the executive powers of the state government are exercised in such a manner that it ensures compliance with the laws made by the parliament and does not impede the exercise of the executive powers of the union. So students, this second point is one sentence but demands so much to understand. I hope you have understood the term jurisdiction and also got some idea of the distribution of legislative powers and the executive powers between the two levels. Let us see the third point. Now, giving more powers to the different levels is not enough. It is necessary that these powers are clearly specified in the Constitution. Specifying these powers in the Constitution is just like a guarantee to the different levels of the government. Hence, the third feature, the jurisdiction of the respective levels or tiers of government are specified in the Constitution. So, the existence and authority of each tier of government is constitutionally guaranteed. Let us now see the next feature. Now, the powers of both the levels are written clearly in the Constitution. But if the central government has the power to change the provisions of the Constitution whenever it wishes, then what is the significance of writing these powers in the Constitution? Therefore, it is very important that if changes are to be brought in the Constitution in such provisions that are related to the powers of the states or the center, consent of both the levels of government must be there. Hence, we have the fourth feature which says the fundamental provisions of the Constitution cannot be changed unilaterally by one level of government. Such changes require the consent of both the levels of the government. Let us now see the next important feature. Now, powers are given to both the levels of the government. But in the exercise of their powers, it may happen that some dispute or say conflict arise between them. Then who will resolve their dispute? So we need a third party which is independent and impartial to solve the dispute. In a federal country, generally this role is played by the highest court of the country. This highest court acts as an umpire in such cases and decides on the basis of the constitutional provisions which level is right and which one is wrong. Hence, the fifth feature of the federalism is courts have the power to interpret the constitution and the powers of different levels of government. The highest court acts as an umpire if disputes arise between different levels of the government in the exercise of their respective powers. So the power of the interpretation of the constitution lies with the highest court. This is also a very important point to remember. Let us now go to the next point. We all know that taxes are an important source of income of the government. In India, taxes are levied by the central government as well as the state government. Some taxes are also levied by the local government, such as the municipality. Which government will levy what tax? Who will collect those tax? Everything is clearly laid down. For example, income tax is a tax which is levied and collected by the central government in India. Land revenue is a tax which is levied and collected by the state government in India. Hence, the sixth feature, sources of revenue for each level of government are clearly specified to ensure its financial autonomy. Lastly, federalism is best suited for a large country, especially with diverse kinds of people living there. Federalism focuses on their unity and diversity. Level of the government promotes unity and the other one tries to accommodate the diversity. Thus, we come to the seventh feature. The federal government has dual objectives: to safeguard and promote unity of the country while at the same time accommodate regional diversity. With this, students, we finish the features of the federalism. I hope you have understood them properly. Read the textbook once again and watch the video if required. I am sure there will be no doubts. Let us see if this question is ever asked in the board examination. Yes, this question has been asked. Describe any 5 features of federalism. 5 marks, CBSE 2019. It is a 5 marks question, so you have to write any 5 points here. If you have understood the points explained above, you can write them easily. In the next class, we will learn the types of federalism. Till then, read your textbook and get ready for the next video. Thank you.